Racing to the 2020 Breeders' Cup, and this time let's take a look at that Breeders' Cup Sprint. We have already handicapped this race once, but with the major defection of Vekoma, I wanted to kind of recrystallize some of my thoughts and give you an update on how I think the betting and the pace of this race will play out. Vekoma as a scratch out of the 14th post position is a major change to the complexity of the possible race flow of this race and how the betting is going to go. I think with Vekoma, who would have been 3-1 or 7-2, he would have been on a lot of tickets. I think people would have went 2-3 horses deep, CZ Rocket, and I think they would have had Yaupon and they would have had Vekoma on the majority of tickets. Now, some people were going to fade Vekoma, and rightfully so. He had some question marks, but now what you have is Yaupon is the 2-1 overseas favorite in the books, and even though Vekoma had some question marks, he was a two-time Grade 1 winner who was 6 for 8 lifetime, had ran a 108.3 as a 2-year-old at 6 furlongs. Now with Yaupon, you've got a horse that's a 3-year-old who's facing older horses for the first time, facing other fast horses for the first time, and he's going to get pressure on the front end from a horse like Frank's Rocket. So it's a different pace scenario, and Yaupon still has question marks, but he's the type of horse that could run out of the money. And so what's going to happen here now is more horses will be included on pick 3s and pick 4s and pick 5s because people are less sure of what Yaupon is going to do. More people, I think, were taking a stand. You know, Vekoma was a good horse. Yaupon, we don't know anything about. So I see the early speed of this race being Yaupon and Frank's Rocket. Now, I think Frank's Rocket has proven the last couple of races she can sit there and maybe sit just a little bit off the pace, whereas Yaupon has pretty much shown in all 4 of his races he wants to be on the front end. So, and he doesn't have that raw speed like Chancelot last year, who set under 44 fractions. He could routinely go 21-3. I think if Yaupon is sent, he isn't going to be allowed to go out to an early lead with those sub 44 type fractions. I think he's going to set more like a 45 type fractions, which means the field will be further bunched. So I think more people will be using CZ Rocket. A few more people will use Frank's Rocket. I think a couple of the closers will be used, like Whitmore and even a Collusion Illusion and even a Hog Creek Hustle possibly. I still think Empire of Gold is kind of a toss, but he could be up there setting that pace like he did at Keeneland the last time out. And even a horse like CZ Rocket now might get a good trip from that second flight. So personally for me, I'm starting to lean a little bit more towards Frank's Rocket and Collusion Illusion and Hog Creek Hustle. Those are the 3 that I'm going to be using. I think those 3, I want a closer, I want a horse on the front end, and then I want that kind of that first runner from the mid-pack. I'm just not a big fan of Yaupon. I think going up in class facing older horses is going to be a big ask for Yaupon. So that is how I'm re-handicapping the race. I'm going to use more of a liberal spread. I think this race has a chance for a chaos. You could even make the case for Echo Town and Whitmore, and even for Diamond Oops, who I think is going to get bet down a little bit more than his raw chances of winning this race. I think overall he prefers to have a little bit more time between his races. So that's a revised look at the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Leave a comment, ring that bell for notifications, and subscribe. Share this video with horse racing friends. We're just a couple of days away now from the 2020 Breeders' Cup.